The Montana sun hung low over the horizon, painting the ranch in shades of amber and gold. Jack Morrison had been working this land for 43 years, every callus on his hands told a story, every crease around his eyes marked a season of drought or plenty. He stood by the fence post, hammer in hand, when he heard the truck rumbling up the dusty road. He didn't get many visitors out here. The Morrison Ranch sat 15 miles from the nearest town, a speck of civilization in an ocean of prairie grass. So when the beat-up Ford pickup pulled into his driveway, Jack set down his tools and squinted against the setting sun. A young woman stepped out, couldn't have been more than 19 or 20. She wore faded jeans, scuffed boots, and a determination in her eyes that reminded Jack of his own daughter at that age. Her truck had seen better days, held together by rust and prayer, with a horse trailer hitched to the back. "Afternoon, sir," she called out, removing her hat respectfully. "Name's Sarah Chen. I'm looking for Jack Morrison." "You found him." Jack wiped his hands on his jeans and walked closer. That's when he noticed the trailer wasn't empty. Inside stood a beautiful paint horse, though the animal looked thin, too thin. Sarah took a breath, and Jack could see her hands trembling slightly. "Mr. Morrison, I heard you're the best rancher in 3 counties. Fair, honest, and you know horses better than anyone." She paused, gathering courage. "I need 11 inches. Can you give it to me?" Jack froze. The words hung in the air between them like a challenge, like a riddle waiting to be solved. His mind raced through possibilities, confusion written across his weathered face. Sarah must have seen his bewilderment because she quickly continued, her voice cracking slightly. "I need 11 inches of good grazing land. For my horse, Remedy. Just 11 inches per day, that's all a horse needs to maintain healthy weight. But I don't have any land. And I'm running out of options." Jack's shoulders relaxed, and he let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He walked over to the trailer, studying the paint horse with an expert eye. The animal was malnourished but not beyond hope. Its coat, though dull, still held promise. Its eyes, though weary, still held spirit. "Tell me your story, girl," Jack said quietly. Sarah's composure crumbled just a little. "Remedy belonged to my grandmother. She raised him from a foal, loved him more than anything. When she passed 6 months ago, she left him to me. But I lost my job at the feed store 3 weeks ago, and I'm living in my truck. I've been moving from place to place, finding patches of grass where I can, but winter's coming in." Her voice broke. "I can't let her down. I can't lose him too." Jack saw himself in this young woman, saw the same stubborn pride that had kept him going when his own ranch nearly failed 20 years ago. Saw the same fierce loyalty that had defined his entire life. "Why me?" Jack asked. "There are bigger ranches, wealthier folks." "Because everyone says you're fair," Sarah answered simply. "I'm not looking for charity. I can work. I'll do anything, mend fences, muck stalls, repair equipment. I've been around horses my whole life. I just need a chance, and I need Remedy to have what he needs to survive." The sun was touching the horizon now, setting the world on fire. Jack thought about his own daughter, living in Seattle, too busy with her corporate job to visit. He thought about his late wife, Mary, who had always said their ranch should be a place of second chances. He thought about the 20 empty acres on the south pasture that hadn't been used in years. 11 inches of grazing per day, Jack mused. That's specific knowledge. Most people don't know that. "My grandmother taught me," Sarah said softly. "She taught me everything about horses. How to read their mood by the set of their ears, how to check their teeth for age, how much space they need to thrive, not just survive. She always said knowledge was the greatest gift she could give me." Jack made his decision in that moment, though he probably made it the second he saw the determination in this young woman's eyes. "I've got 20 acres sitting unused," he said. "More than enough for one horse. You can set up camp in the old foreman's cabin, it's not fancy, but it's got running water and heat. In exchange, I could use help around here. My arthritis has been acting up, and there's always more work than daylight on a ranch." Sarah's eyes widened. I can pay you something." "Not much, but—" "Keep your money," Jack interrupted. "You'll earn your keep with work. And that horse needs feed and a veterinary checkup. We'll handle that first, then talk about the rest." For a moment, Sarah just stood there, speechless. Then tears began streaming down her face, not delicate tears, but the kind that come from a dam finally breaking, from carrying a weight too heavy for too long. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say you'll show up ready to work at dawn," Jack replied with a gentle smile. As Sarah unloaded Remedy and led him toward the south pasture, Jack watched the paint horse take his first steps onto Morrison land. The animal's ears perked up at the smell of good grass, his stride gaining confidence with each step. Jack thought about how life had a way of bringing people together when they needed it most. He'd been lonely since Mary passed, the ranch feeling too big and too quiet. And here was this young woman, carrying her grandmother's legacy in the form of a paint horse named Remedy, a fitting name, Jack thought, because maybe they were all each other's remedy. That night, after Sarah had settled Remedy in the pasture and accepted Jack's offer of dinner, they sat on the porch under a blanket of stars. The kind of stars you only see far from city lights, where the Milky Way stretches across the sky like a promise. "My grandmother used to say that land has memory," Sarah said quietly. "She said good land remembers kindness and gives it back tenfold." Jack nodded, thinking of all the years he and Mary had poured into this ranch, all the animals they'd raised, all the seasons they'd weathered. "Your grandmother was a wise woman." "She was everything to me," Sarah said. "When my parents died in a car accident when I was 8, she took me in without hesitation. Taught me that family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up, day after day, even when it's hard." "That's the truth of ranch life," Jack agreed. "Nothing glamorous about it. Just the daily choice to keep showing up, keep working, keep caring." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the night sounds, crickets singing, horses settling, the distant call of an owl. "Why did you really say yes?" Sarah asked. "You don't know me. I could be anyone." Jack considered this. 43 years ago, I was 23 years old with more dreams than sense. I'd inherited this ranch from my father, but I had no money to run it. I went to the bank for a loan, and they laughed me out of the building. He paused, remembering. "A man named Robert Chen, maybe a relative of yours, owned the feed store in town. He extended me credit when no one else would. Said he believed in giving young people a chance to prove themselves." Sarah's breath caught. "Robert Chen was my grandfather." "I figured there might be a connection," Jack said with a knowing smile. "Your grandfather saved this ranch." "Saved my life, really. I spent 20 years paying him back, and when I finally did, he said, 'Jack, now you pay it forward.'" The weight of this revelation settled over Sarah like a warm blanket. "I never knew," she whispered. "Kindness has a way of echoing through time," Jack said. "Your grandfather helped me when I needed $1,100 to make it through my first winter. Now his granddaughter needs 11 inches of grazing land. Seems like the universe has a sense of poetry." The weeks that followed transformed the Morrison Ranch in ways Jack hadn't anticipated. Sarah proved to be everything she'd promised and more. She worked from dawn until dusk, approaching every task with a combination of determination and joy that was infectious. She repaired the fence along the north pasture, the one Jack had been putting off for months. She reorganized the barn with an efficiency that would have made a military general proud. She even figured out the temperamental tractor that had been giving Jack fits for years. Turned out it just needed someone patient enough to understand its quirks. But more than the physical work, Sarah brought life back to the ranch. She sang while she worked, old country songs and Chinese folk melodies her grandmother had taught her. She talked to the animals like they were family, greeting each horse by name, learning their personalities and preferences. Remedy transformed under proper care. With good grazing, quality feed, and a veterinary checkup that revealed nothing a little time and nutrition couldn't fix, the paint horse regained his health. His coat began to shine, his muscles filled out, and his spirit, which had never quite been broken, flourished. Watching him gallop across the south pasture at sunrise became Jack's favorite part of the day. One morning, about 6 weeks after Sarah's arrival, Jack found her in the barn, teaching Remedy a new trick. She'd always worked with him on basic training, but this was something different. "He's smart," Sarah explained, noticing Jack watching. "Grandmother always said a horse needs mental stimulation as much as physical exercise. So I'm teaching him to bow." She demonstrated, and Remedy, responding to her gentle cues, bent his front legs in an elegant bow. "Your grandmother trained horses?" Jack asked. "Professionally, back in China before she immigrated," Sarah said with pride. "She performed with horses in shows that traveled all over Asia. Met my grandfather when his business took him to Shanghai. She gave it all up to move here with him, but she never stopped training horses. Just did it quietly, for love rather than fame." Jack felt a pang of regret that he'd never known this about Robert Chen's wife. "I wish I'd known her. She passed 2 years before grandfather did," Sarah said softly. "But she packed so much love into my life that I still feel her with me every day. Especially when I'm with Remedy." As autumn deepened into winter, the relationship between Jack and Sarah evolved into something resembling family. They developed routines: morning coffee on the porch before chores, evening meals shared at the old kitchen table, quiet evenings reading or planning the next day's work. Jack began teaching Sarah the deeper aspects of ranch management: how to read weather patterns, how to manage finances during lean times, how to negotiate with feed suppliers and veterinarians. He shared 43 years of accumulated wisdom, and Sarah absorbed it all with gratitude. She, in turn, taught him about technology he'd been avoiding, showed him how to use a smartphone for more than just calls, how to market the ranch's services online, how to connect with the broader ranching community through social media. Under her guidance, Jack started offering boarding services for other horses, creating a new revenue stream he'd never considered. One December evening, heavy snow falling outside, Sarah brought out a worn photo album. "I want to show you something," she said. The album contained pictures of her grandmother, and Jack's breath caught when he saw a photograph from the 1980s, a Chinese woman standing beside Robert Chen in front of his feed store. And there, in the background, was a much younger Jack Morrison, loading supplies into his truck. "We were connected all along," Sarah murmured. "Different threads in the same story." Jack turned the pages slowly, seeing his own history reflected through another family's lens. There were photos of Robert and his wife at community events, supporting local ranchers, investing in the town's future. There was a picture of Sarah as a little girl, sitting on Remedy when he was just a foal, her grandmother standing beside them with a smile that radiated pure love. "Your grandmother was beautiful," Jack said. "You have her eyes. And her stubbornness," Sarah added with a laugh. "When I showed up here asking for 11 inches of land, I thought you'd think I was crazy. But I'd driven to 17 other ranches first, and everyone turned me away. You were my last hope. I decided that if you said no, I would have to surrender Remedy to a rescue organization, and I don't think I could have survived that." "But you didn't give up," Jack said firmly. "That's the important thing. You kept going, kept fighting for what mattered." Sarah nodded. "Grandmother used to say that the universe rewards persistence. Not with ease, but with possibility. She said if you knock on enough doors with a pure heart, eventually one opens." "Your grandmother was right about a lot of things," Jack agreed. Winter settled over the ranch with serious intent, bringing snow and ice and temperatures that tested both human and animal endurance. But the Morrison Ranch was ready. The animals were healthy and well sheltered, the equipment was properly maintained, and most importantly, the ranch was no longer managed by one aging man alone. Jack found himself looking forward to each day in a way he hadn't since Mary died. Sarah's presence had reminded him that life wasn't meant to be carried alone, that asking for help wasn't weakness, and that sometimes the most profound gifts come disguised as burdens. On Christmas morning, Jack gave Sarah an envelope. Inside was a document, a contract making her the official assistant manager of Morrison Ranch, complete with salary, benefits, and a percentage of profits. "Jack, I can't," she started. "You can and you will," he interrupted gently. "You've earned this 10 times over. This ranch runs better now than it has in years, and that's because of you. Besides, I'm not getting any younger, and I need to know this place will be in good hands."